evening, everybody, and welcome into the Philadelphia Soul Pregame Show. It is live here on Bob Long Sports. We have Bob Long, Christian James, Rob Stott alongside. It's going to be a great show tonight here, guys, and an even better football game out there on the turf behind us at the Wells Fargo Center. Tonight, it's the 2-0 Soul against the 0-1 Washington Valor. The Valor coming off, Christian, a bye week last week because of the NBA playoffs and the Stanley Cup playoffs and everything going through the Verizon Center. They couldn't play that game last week, so that's been pushed back, and the Valor, well, they are a little bit fresher than the Soul coming in tonight.
Yes, that's for certain. They had a lot of time to think about, how they played week one. They unfortunately lost to the Baltimore Brigade, but they were able to run very well. There was no defensive stops in the first game, the home opener for the Arena Football League. But now they're able to, refresh, reset, and hopefully get their defense to get a stop tonight.
And they're led by Nick Davila on the offensive side of the football. We'll bring Rob Stott in now. And Rob, it's great to have you back, my friend, live in an HD from Rome, Italy to San Diego, California. You're a world traveler, but appreciate you making us a part of your itinerary here.
From the Coliseum to the Wells Fargo Center. So,
yes, indeed. And Nick Davila, by the way, has had his travels as well. From the Arizona team a few years ago that lost in the Arena Bowl final to the Soul, all the way back here to a member of the Washington Valor. He still has championship and MVP pedigree, and he's going to be one heck of a challenge for the Soul defense.
Sure does, and the Valor are going to need it, Bob, because they're a team that's coming in 0-3 against the Soul last year. So they drove up 95 to Philadelphia, weren't able to get a win against this team that really, for the most part, the Soul are unchanged. But, they're facing a new Valor team this year, led by a new quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see how, Nick Davila is able to come in here, rally his troops, if you will, from Washington, and see if he can't get a different result.
Bob Long, Christian James, Rob Stott, your pregame show host here on BLS. Christian, I'll turn to you now. This is a Valor team that has a lot of offensive weapons. Rob talked a lot about Nick Davila, but T.T. Tolliver, another guy that has some Arena Bowl pedigree. I believe his 15th year, if not longer, in this league. He's a surefire Hall of Famer when his time comes, but his time hasn't come up yet. He can still straight ball out there, and he's a tremendous football player who torched the Soul last year when he was a member of the Tampa Bay Storm.
Yes, 15 years in the league, that's a pretty long time. He's looking for revenge against the Soul tonight. Yes, after losing to them last year in the Arena Bowl. He's looking for revenge. He's seeking revenge. He's going to try to do it on offense and maybe a little bit on defense too. But let's see how he plays tonight. He should be a fun one to watch.
Now, we had an opportunity after last week's game to speak with Clint Dolezel, the head coach of the Philadelphia Soul, and as you'll hear in this interview, he talks about a lot of things. Of course, some of it dealing with last week's hard-fought win against the Brigade that we'll talk about when we come back from the interview. But take a listen to Dolezel as he just gushes, guys, about the state of this league in terms of the talent that are on the three other teams and what they see on a week-to-week basis. Here's the head coach, Clint Dolezel.
We were a little sloppy in the first half. It wasn't a bunch of guys. It was just one player several different times, and just weren't on the same page on a few things, which is typical for early season. So I'm not overly worried about it. We played better in the second half, made the plays that were put in front of us, which we didn't do in the first half. So it's a good football team. It's going to be like that all year long. I mean, there's 4 all-star teams out there for the most part, so it's going to be a battle every week.
Can you let the decision at one side kick it late in the game?
That's normal. It's arena football. I mean, we want the ball last, which technically we didn't have it last, but they only had a few plays to do it, and that's kind of how it works. So everything worked in our favor. The onside kick, we should have got off the field. It's 4th and 12. They made a great play on it. We still had plenty of time, so put the pressure back on them. They couldn't onside kick because they had wasted one of their penalties. So everything worked to plan.
Coach, Raudabaugh Reynolds, on that count, that was 4 times that he hit that in. What is it like for you to kind of have that in your back pocket, sort of a safety blanket?
Well, we got a bunch of them, to be honest with you. It's pick your poison. Last week it was Prince, this week it's Money. Could be SK next week, could be anybody else. So, it's based on that's the great thing about Dan. Dan throws the ball to whoever's open. It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter if we run the ball 7 times in for touchdowns. It's just a matter of who's getting it that week.
How about the defensive effort tonight?
Good. It could have even better. We had him in situations several times and didn't make the plays to get off the field. I think we had him fourth down at least 2 or 3 times, and they converted on them. But like I said, that's a good football team over there. Different element of the receivers they have over there with speed versus last week. More bigger, methodical, good hands type guys. So it'll be different every week.
So it seems like when the play breaks down or there's extended time in the pocket for Dan, it's often money that he's finding. Is there something about Darius's game that allows him to separate like that?
Well, he's probably the most powerful receiver I've ever seen play arena football, first and foremost. So you're not going to press him. You're going to play him tight. He's going to run through that. So, yeah, he's definitely a go-to guy. We don't hold the ball very long. A lot of those plays are designed for him to come across late on those, which is not very. We don't do that very often either. We don't like Dan holding the football. Dan holding the football gets him hurt. So we would try to get the ball out on time, and he does a great job of that.
Coach, may I say it's a very honor to meet you.
Appreciate
and
it.
How are you able to bounce back after not leading until the third quarter?
Oh, it's arena football. I've been doing this for 23 years now. So it's back and forth. They're going to happen. Like I said, it's all-star teams out there. Both teams, all 4 teams for that matter, have great players on both sides of the ball. So there's going to be games like this, probably more so than not.
Good luck to you this year.
Appreciate it.
Coach, in 2 games in, it's interesting you bring that up about you got 4 quarterbacks that have been MVPs at one point or another in this league. 2 games in, are you seeing more consolidation of talent? Are you seeing better teams than you saw last year?
Oh, of course. Anytime you lose a couple teams and you're pushing the talent pool to smaller, number of teams, of course there's going to be great football teams out there. And, all teams have 4 great quarterbacks, like you mentioned, and that's where it's at. If you protect your quarterback and he plays well, you're going to be in every ball game.
What do you have to do for this week?
We're kind of beat up. We had a couple guys didn't practice last week through either sickness or just injuries. So it'd be nice to get on the field and have a real practice for a whole week. It didn't really feel good about coming into this just because I like to practice, and we haven't been able to do that, fully even through camp just because we got a late start. So we're going to get better. I'm proud of our guys. I'm pleased with our guys. But we're still looking to get better every day.
How's Phil keep the home winning streak going?
Great. I thought y'all put the jinx on us by putting that out there today, but hey, we overcame it. Y'all couldn't do it. Y'all couldn't jinx us enough.
Coach, is there one particular moment that stands out to you as kind of a turning point in tonight's game?
The stop before half. That was huge. The defense getting off the field, especially with them getting the ball coming out in the second half. And you imagine if they scored that touchdown, they return the next kick, they're up 2 scores. It's a different ballgame. Now we're chasing more. They're able to be a little more conservative, those type things. So, it's definitely a turning point. It usually is in the first half turning point.
How do you feel about
Great, great ownership, and as long as they keep, giving the players what they need around here, they're going to keep showing up. It's a great atmosphere. We'll keep doing it.
Welcome back, everybody, and that was Clint Dolezel, the head coach of the Philadelphia Soul. And guys, a big takeaway for me, it came from a question that I asked him, was about the strength of the quarterbacks and the strength of the teams in this league. And he kind of took that question and ran with it, Christian, because as you heard, you were standing right next to me when he said it, all of a sudden now there's 4 MVP quarterbacks on the field. And he said that the league is more competitive and in a better spot than it has been in the past. Now, I think some people may disagree with that, just given, hey, listen, it's great that there's a lot of talent, but only 4 teams in a very regional league. But what say you? Watching the game last week, watching some of the other games on television, what is the state of this league at this point?
The one thing I love about this league is that, Tampa went out of the league. Cleveland got suspended for a little bit because they were working on the Q arena. But what stands out to me is that veteran players and veteran quarterbacks, wide receivers, you name it, are now on every single team in this league. So that just kind of makes it more interesting and more fun to watch, to know that you have veterans playing for these teams.
Yeah, Rob, what do you think about the state of the league, both from a playing perspective and everything else that goes along with running an organization of this size?
Sure. The play, I agree with Coach to an extent. It's nice to see, well, not nice. It's interesting to see how a condensed league kind of condenses the talent to just a certain number of teams, 4 teams in this case, and makes in theory, the competition a little bit higher. Early in the season, we're only a couple weeks in, sort of starting to shape up like it could be a 2-team league, rather earlier than you'd expect, based on what we're seeing from we'll see tonight with the Valor, Albany. Early in the season, kind of getting their legs moving under them as a new franchise. So we'll see how that shapes out. But when you turn to the management aspect of it, it's kind of interesting to see. I know we've been following this for a couple of years now, from a league that had 8 teams when we started. I believe 8 teams, and then it contracted
down
to 6
from 10
or 5
the year before we were there, down to 5.
So we've seen contraction every year, and new management at the top this year. So it's kind of, Scott Butera out. They got Randall Bowe in. Interesting enough, a guy that comes from Monumental Sports, who will maintain his position at Monumental Sports while acting as commissioner of the AFL. So just furthering the ties to, Ted Leonsis. You saw Ron Jaworski get, I guess it could be considered a promotion. He's sort of on this executive committee for the AFL now. So they're putting themselves in a position with the right management and the right players from the right other organizations, I think, to sort of, they've bottomed out. This is about as low as you can go as far as keeping a league, in place with the number of teams that they've got. There's only room for growth at this point, and you hope that they have the players in place, players meaning the management players in place, to now turn around and start finding teams to come back. You want Cleveland to come back. You don't know what happened in Tampa, but hopefully they're able to turn things around and come back. So interesting to see where this new leadership takes the league and how it moves forward after 2018.
What it sounds like is Cleveland would be the most likely to come back.
Yep.
They called it a hiatus. Tampa called it a fold.
Yep.
In that they cited rising league costs and reduced league revenues as the reason for scrapping those operations and putting more money into the rest of the Tampa Bay sports media and the Tampa Bay sports franchises that play down there at Amalie Arena.
Yeah.
So it really does make it interesting. I think that Scott Butera did a great job, and I think what's really interesting about it is Scott Butera's legacy, who I know you and I have spent time with, and we think he did a great job and are impressed by the way he's trying to identify strong ownership.
Yep.
But truly his legacy is going to be defined by now Randall Bowe and Ron Jaworski, as well as the rest of the owners in the league right now. That is the interesting part to me.
Yeah, and one thing, Christian and I, actually on the ride down here, had an interesting conversation about this. Opportunity seems to be out there. I don't know if it makes sense for the AFL, but there are other indoor leagues out there across the country that, they seem to be regional leagues around the United States that have teams, that have former teams like the Arizona Rattlers that went to the IFL, and, other teams that are out there. So what's the opportunity? If they're strong in their regions, if you're trying to create one massive league or try to grow the league, the quickest way would seem to be with, not saying it's going to happen, but AFL merger with other organizations that are out there. If you're trying to grow and you want to grow, the quickest way to do that is to partner up, right? You see that a lot in business.
That's
mergers and acquisitions.
It's true,
So,
but Arizona left for a reason,
Yep.
and a lot of these other franchises left for a reason. So would they come back by a
Who
pure
knows?
merger? It really is an interesting discussion. This very much a watershed year in the league because you had 4 incredibly talented teams, and can that draw an audience nationally? I know it draws an audience here. This crowd is absolutely electric every single game. How do you make Philadelphia the norm? How do you make Philadelphia the city and the shining example of the Arena Football League? And, well, heck, guys, we're just happy to be a small part of that franchise here in Philadelphia and a small part of how that word is disseminated. We're going to disseminate some intel about last week's game against the Baltimore Brigade. I and Christian were here last week, and boy, that was such a great game, Christian. Baltimore came out, they punched Philadelphia in the mouth. They would not give up a lead for seemingly the entire game until late in the third, and then in the fourth quarter they went back and forth a few times, and Baltimore ended up having a chance at the end. The Soul drove the ball down at the end of the game. Baltimore could not get a stop, and then had mere seconds to drive down the whole course of the field, couldn't do so. And the Soul, one of the closest home games they've had in a long, long time. I know you're going to talk about their winning streak here, but last week was a lot of fun.
Yes, last week was a lot of fun, and it really all started going the Brigade's way when they blocked that field goal, which was unfortunate. We both saw it. That was an unfortunate play of the game. And then you have Darius Money Reynolds, who was close to the end zone, unfortunately loses the ball. Now, the Soul don't come back until the third quarter. But when they came back, Bob, they did not disappoint. They were on fire. They were on their point. They ran the ball. They threw the ball like crazy. And all that was able to get them back into the game and able to win it. It was scary close, but they were able to win the game, which at the end of the day is always good.
And any time in the Arena Football League, listen, you're going score for score for score. When you can get a stop or two defensively, and the Soul got 2 of them in the fourth quarter, that's a big difference in a game like this. Clint Dolezel talked about it after the game in his comments. The Soul, for about 2.5 to 3 quarters, had trouble getting pressure on the opposing quarterback. And Randy Hippert had a great game getting the ball out quickly. However, as the game went on and the offensive line wore down, it was the Soul D-line wearing them down. They got a couple of sacks and a lot of hurries. That was the difference. That was my key to the game before the game, and I think my key tonight is going to be similar because the defensive back core for this Philadelphia Soul team is fantastic.
Largely untouched over the last 3 years.
Dwayne Hollis, James Romaine, there was another gentleman, Tracy Belton, who we're going to highlight when we preview the Valor. All those 3 guys were on the team at one time. Let's not gush about the past Soul teams. But James Romaine has come into his own over the last 2 years, and he is as elite as it gets in this league. So, Rob, my key is, can you give James Romaine a chance to jump a route? Can you reduce the time that Nick Davila has to throw the football? And that's going to be a key for allowing the secondary to flourish.
It has. And, I mean, you go back to those last three seasons or, counting this season, the last 2 before it. This defense has really been sort of you think of the heart and soul of Philadelphia. That's what you look at the Soul defense behind us, and that's what I think they represent. It's that kind of blue-collar type player. They go out hard. They go hard every play. They're bound to come up with that big play, and you saw that last week. We've seen it over the last 2 seasons and what it's led to in 2 championship seasons. So you got to look at that as a key every week because in a league where scores enter the 50s, 60s, 70s, you need stops, and they're huge when you get them. And to have guys, veterans on this team like James Romaine, it is huge, and it's going to be a key every week.
This is the Philadelphia Soul Pregame Show live from the Wells Fargo Center. My name is Bob Long. Alongside me, Christian James, and we have Rob Stott. Rob and I are the veterans here. We've been doing this for a long, long time. And Christian, he's an arena football veteran. He's been a fan of this league for a long time, and just fortunate that we were able to connect and get you on the show and be able to have you inform us about some of the knowledge you have and give us your thoughts on these games.
It's great how everything works out. It's great that we met. It's great that we're all able to do this together. It's amazing to get this opportunity.
All
so
right.
I thank you guys so much for it.
All right, Christian, so now we're going to put you to work here. I talked about my key for the game. I think it's defensive line pressure. What's your key for tonight's game as the Valor come in 0-1, but with an MVP caliber quarterback and looking for their first win of the year, their first franchise win against the Soul?
So you guys were mentioning about defense. I want to note the first game, the Brigade versus the Valor, had no defensive stops.
Yep.
So for the Valor, you have to force 4th down and you have to get the Dan. I think that would be really key tonight for the Valor. For the Soul, you just gotta. You know what? It's not a big matter of the game, but you might want to keep trying to run the ball. If you can, passing's working out, amazing for the Soul. But try to get a couple runs in there with Jeremy Richardson. Defense is also a big part of this game, and you want to start early. You don't want to fumble the ball. You want to try to get your kicks in. You want to try to get your touchdowns in. You want to start early. And I would think the last one would be just hold on to the ball. Simple, hold on to the ball.
I think that's absolutely true and it's a great point. I'll turn to Rob now because we've seen at times, for as well as Dan Raudabaugh has played and been an MVP and a 2-time Arena Bowl champion, at times in this building, the Soul have started off slowly.
And that's exactly going to be my key, is to not have that slow start. You stole my thunder, Bob. The Soul have frequently gotten off the slow starts in this stadium, in the Wells Fargo Center, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's like the swag of coming out knowing that they're defending champs. They expect to win and kind of start a little slow, but you need to prevent that from happening, and it all starts with your MVP quarterback, Dan Raudabaugh, and what he's able to do. We need to see him accurate, clean, precise, standing up tall in the pocket, firing it downfield. He's got the weapons on the outside to be able to not start slow. So let's see if he's able to do that tonight and really put the Valor step on them early, because this is a team that you don't want to let them get confident, because then they can think that they can win, and then who knows, maybe they get it done.
Those weapons that you're talking about for Dan Raudabaugh on the outside are spectacular for the Soul. Possibly and probably the best wide receiver core in the Arena Football League. And as you see the lights behind us dim, and we'll take a camera to the field in just a few minutes as the Soul are introduced. But we talk about these wide receivers. Last year they had Ryan McDaniel on the roster, who just ran tremendous routes, had great hands. Well, they replaced that this year with a true number one. Darius Prince has come in and shown exceptional hands, an ability to get open, and an ability to make the big play. Darius Buddy Reynolds, he's of course a one, and he would scoff at anybody that said anything differently. I know that we're not saying that. The Soul have two number one wide receivers, and then SK, who, oh, by the way, is an Arena Bowl MVP.
Yep.
Tremendous wide receiver core. They all play different type positions. Buddy Reynolds, a big threat across the middle who can take some contact. Prince can beat you deep. SK right along the sideline can slip away. He is a tremendous player, and I think that's going to be big for the Soul tonight. Can they get open for Dan Raudabaugh? Now we're going to take you down to the field, as in just a few seconds we will have the Philadelphia Soul being introduced on their home field at the Wells Fargo Center. And of course you hear Vinny the Crumb.
Our man, Vinny.
Over the top of the loudspeaker, you see the tail end of the blue smoke there. The Soul will make their way onto the field shortly. Rob, this atmosphere here at the Wells Fargo Center is special, and it's unlike what you see throughout the Arena Football League.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I mean, these fans have come to expect that, this is a championship caliber team now you're talking about out of Philadelphia. For the last 2 seasons, they got their back-to-back. They're on their road to a three-peat. Hashtag road to three-peat, by the way. So, they come to the stadium, support their Soul, and the Soul give them a show every week.
We're going to welcome you back into our studio now. See the Soulmates dancing below, and we'll take you down as the Soul are introduced. Once again, my name Bob Long, his name Christian James, and his name Rob Stott. So if there's one thing you're looking forward to over the course of the entire Arena Football League season, we'll be doing this, guys, 5 times from the Wells Fargo Center, 5 home games, 7 road games. So that was very interesting, and that the scheduling came out. The Wells Fargo Center, a very, very busy building, but the Soul have 5 times on their home field. I'll tell you what I'm most excited about. I'm excited for a home-and-home European soccer-style playoff format. Now that you only have 4 teams, you have the opportunity to give everybody a home game and a road game, and the aggregate total over the course of those 2 games will be the winner. That's the thing I'm most excited about. How about you, Rob?
It's very different, and I hate to jump right off of what you're saying, but it's a unique way to shape that playoff. And I mean, you're talking about European soccer. You're thinking, 4-3, 3-4, so it's 3-2, 1-0 games. These are going to be. You talk about those aggregate scores. You're talking up near 200 points for teams, and to see what that comes down to, that second game, as you're following that aggregate score. Everyone trying to do a little bit of math. It's going to be fun to follow. But you talk about how well, beyond the playoff format, how well these teams are going to get to know each other in a small league. You think NHL playoffs, how feisty they get over a 7-game series? Try 15, 16 weeks of only 3 teams that you're going to play. You're going to get to know everyone pretty well, and I expect tempers to flare on this field on a weekly basis.
Christian, your thoughts as we're going to bring the Philadelphia Soul onto the field now. So we'll hold your thought on what you're most excited about this year, and we'll turn our attention to what these fans are most excited about. The Philadelphia Soul being introduced. They have the white helmets tonight, the gray tops, and they're facing off against the Washington Valor out of D.C. Their home, the Verizon Center. The Soul will find themselves there very shortly, but before that, tonight it will be a tough atmosphere. Vinny the Crumb, the public address announcer, leading the way, in a great crowd this evening at the center. So Christian, your thoughts on the season and what you're most excited for on a holistic basis?
Well, just right now, they're going for the 20th. The Soul are going for the 20th straight home run. Now that's amazing. That in and of itself is good right there. I'm just excited to see. Again, there's 4 teams. The playoffs are going to be very interesting. It's good. I'm excited to see what teams are A, going to be in the playoffs, and B, who are going to make it into the Arena Bowl. It's going to be interesting. But you know what? Change is different. Change is unique. But you know what? I like what they're doing with the league this year. So again, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I'm excited to see what happens.
They've done a great job across the league of promoting it across multiple platforms. You can go online and stream some of these games. Of course, they have a contract with CBS Sports Network. Locally, they broadcast these games on 97.5 The Fanatic, our colleagues over in Ballykinwood, the radio station there. And they do a wonderful job disseminating this league. It's a great product. And perhaps, Rob, for somebody that's watching a game for the first time, hopefully we're bringing on lots of new fans through our Twitter, through our Facebook Live, through our Ustream. But what would a new fan look for when they're watching an arena football game?
Well, you're looking for football, first of all.
Well, that's good.
You're looking for a little pigskin.
It's a darn good product.
But you're looking at football. The easiest way to describe it is a little bit of football mixed with a little bit of hockey, the way these players play. You see the boards around the outside right at the top of your screen there as these players are being introduced. A lot less space than you're used to on a normal football field, so it's a lot less room to run around, but you're still moving at those high speeds. Guys that go both ways. You talk about those Iron Men that are just beasts on the field. They take up space, and it's just a fast-paced game, not much defense, and what everyone loves about, I think football in general is when you see a lot of offense. So you're talking about a lot of scoring and just a lot of action from end to end.
We're now going to take a break as the national anthem will come here, but you're not going anywhere, watchers and listeners. You will hear from Dan Raudabaugh, the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Soul after last week's game against Baltimore. Here he is.
Okay, left a couple plays out there still. We got to hit Reynolds on that post that was a little behind him. Missed SK on one. We're not one to typically fumble much, but, overfought some adversity, had a couple drives there. We had some penalties that are kind of uncharacteristic, and we overcame them, but proud of us. That's what, veteran team, we want the ball in those tight situations. Got a great coach. We're prepared for stuff like that. Hats off to Baltimore. They got a good team. They're going to be good all year. Good coach, good quarterback. That's what this is all about. So, we were able to get it done when we needed to. Defense, rallied behind each other, and go Soul.
What was Baltimore doing in the first half to make you guys struggle?
I wouldn't say they did too much. A lot of times when we're out there struggling a little bit, it's on our own accord. Kind of can't get out of our own way sometimes. And, we keep it pretty simple. We don't do too much. We ask our guys to be themselves. We don't have to do anything special. So we just go out there and, stay out of 3rd and 4th and longs and move the sticks, score when you can. Proud of our guys. Like I said, line blocked really well.
Dan, you had 4 touchdowns to Darius Reynolds tonight. How comfortable are you as a quarterback when you have guys like Reynolds, SK, receivers that you can count on to make the catches?
Yeah, makes my job real easy, right? They're running out there as fast as a race car, and Money's a tank out there. He's running through guys, and then SK is probably one of the toughest cover in the whole league. And then we got the youngster Prince, who, he's still real green. He's still learning our nuances in the game, but he's able to hit it running and learn on the run, and like I said, we're a working unit. Everyone's got to do their 8th. 8 guys out there got to do your 1/8. And, if our line keeps protecting like that, I'll be able to find those good receivers.
You mentioned Prince. What jumps off the page about him is his hands. He has some unbelievable hands. And does that give you – what level of comfort does that give you?
I'm trying to put it there where, I'm trying to hit them right in the numbers, all of them. So, if they can make great plays like that, it's wonderful. Like I said, he's still young. It's only his 4th game with the team, so he's still learning. He's still doing stuff, a little different than we teach it too, but he's a former basketball player, so he knows how to attack the ball. He plays the ball at the high point very well. And, he's just been a sponge. He's been receptive to everything that we tell him. And, it's showing, right? He's out there showing out. That diving catch was amazing. The catch against the press coverage there in the second quarter was really good. And, like you said, it gives me confidence. And, we're very unselfish, very selfless out there. And guys are always high-fiving. We don't care who scores. They're all worth 6. So go out there, do your job, slap each other on the back when we get it done, and, got to keep grinding.
Got to ask about the defense as well. What do you see from the bench? It felt like it was a matter of time, and as that rush started to wear down the offensive line, they finally got that finish.
Yep. You know, our rush and our defensive backs, we're typically very good. We mesh very well. We get a good rush, and we got tight coverage, and we get a lot of turnovers. And, you know, they're still young. It's a new unit out there. We've got some new faces on the defensive line, so they're working to gel and put that together. You know, you need good coverage with a good rush. You can't have a bust with a good rush or a bad rush with good coverage because guys can get open. So, you know, we're behind them no matter what. This is an offensive game. You're supposed to score every time. So when they go out there and they give up a touchdown but they make them work, we're behind them. Hey, man, good job. You'll get them next time. I got you. I'm going to go score for you. So got to rally behind each other. It really is 3 phases in this game. You know, special teams, as many points as they're scored, you know, there's a lot of kicks. So it really is a third of the game. And I thought, you know, we won the battle tonight.
Can you talk about those new faces in the locker room, like how it influences like the locker room presence?
Yeah, you know, we're very fortunate that with the new faces, we got a lot of old faces that have been around together. So we do a good job of bringing in the new guys and getting them on our page, and we spend a lot of time together outside of football too. You know, we're always watching film or grabbing dinner, hanging out, shooting a breeze, watching football, whatever. So, you know, that's what it's all about. If you can come together off the field and believe in each other and trust in each other, that time when it's, you know, a minute left on the clock and we're driving down there, you can see it in each other's eyes. We believe it. So it's all about being in the moment. And our guys are doing well. You know, the young guys, they're going to get better with every rep.
What do you have to do to get ready for next week?
You know, got to get healthy, one. This is a tough game. Inside the walls, you know, guys are going to get banged up. We got Washington next. We got the Latin Laser. So we're going to have to be on our game on all phases. You know, he's a great player. And Coquinos is going to have an active defense. Belton's back there. He's a nosy player, so we're going to have to keep our eyes out for them. But, you know, we just got to hold serve, score every time, and get a couple defensive stops. And when we're good on special teams, we're tough to beat.
How are you able to get your running game going tonight?
You know, Coach Dolezel is the puppet master out there. You know, a lot of times he's got the defense like putty in his hand. So we do a good job. We actually, you know, one of the few teams that really likes to run the ball, you know, in any given moment. It doesn't have to be in the red zone, you know. So we got guys that, you know, trust in it. Our fullback, you know, he's going to crush heads all day. And then, you know, when his number's called, protect the ball, get what you can, and we rally around him.
Well, that's Dan Raudabaugh, QB1, as they say, for the Philadelphia Soul, and his thoughts after last week's game against Baltimore. And now we turn our attention one more time to the game tonight, the Valor against the Soul. Christian, your prediction and why?
All right, so I'm going to call it a close game like last week because you have 2 veteran quarterbacks, you have veteran wide receivers, you have veteran players on the line. So I'm calling it a close game. I do think the Soul get this one, but again, it's going to be close, and anything could happen at this point because you got the Red Rocket and the Latin Laser. So,
Rob?
Man's big on the nicknames. I love it.
Yes, sir. Well, when you have nicknames like that, leaving them on the table is...
You can't do that. That'd be an injustice to this
Absolutely.
game. But I'm going the other direction. I think, you know, Philadelphia, Dan Raudabaugh, they see what can happen if you get off to a slow start. I don't think they let that happen this week. I think they come out crisp and clean. I think they put on a show. I know that, you know, the man on the other side under center has a history of doing well against this team, but I think that brings the defense up a level for this game. So I look for them to step it up. I look for them to get their stops. And, you know, I'm looking at a 3-4 score game by the end of it.
I think it's really close in the first half. I don't think the Soul get that fast start. I think Tracy Belton, his first time seeing Raudabaugh this year, his former teammate from 2 years ago, is going to come up with not only a pick, but a pick 6. And I think is going to put Washington ahead early. The Soul are going to fight back. And then I do think in the second half, much like last week, it'll be the defensive line starting to wear down the O-line of Washington, getting to Nick DeVille because as tremendous as he is, you know, it's coming out of his left hand, and he doesn't have the strongest arm in the league. And I think at some point, James Romaine's going to jump a route, and maybe he goes for 6 as well. But once again, the Philadelphia Soul Pregame Show here on BLS. It's been a pleasure for me to be with you. Rob Stott, Christian James. Now, you can turn your attention to CBS Sports Network or 97.5 The Fanatic, our local partners on the radio here in Philadelphia, to listen to or watch the Arena Football League tilt tonight between the Soul and the Valor. We'll see everybody in a couple weeks. Enjoy the football game, and we'll talk to you soon.